y'all, and welcome to this week's episode of All Hands. We are back after some craziness in warehouse and moving operations and things like that for our 3PL, but we are getting settled in, and we'll certainly be sharing some more progress on that in the coming weeks, and also giving you a peek into some operations as well, giving you some insight on what we've been doing, what kind of solutions have we been choosing, and who we've been utilizing to help us set up. I do want to say that some of our supporters, some of our partners have really come in a big way and helped us out. Definitely, my partner Experior has been a huge help as well. But some of the technology partners as well that you've heard here on the podcast or on All Hands potentially, or you've seen me talk about on LinkedIn, have certainly been a big help too with providing us some solutions that we're going to be sharing with you pretty soon here. Very excited for that. So it's not only a warehouse for product and inventory and shipping, but it's also a little bit of a content warehouse too. I guess we're going to be able to share some things from you. So once we get things kind of polished up, and we'll be showing you some of the progress there and how we do some of that as well. Definitely be happy to share that with you. So very busy time, certainly. But of course, within the busy time, we still find time to check out some cool technology and some cool companies as well. So first off, I want to give a shout out to my friends at PO over there. They sent me a cool shirt. Also sent me an awesome sweatshirt as well, but it's still August. So or it's September now, I guess today, but it's still hot, so I'm not wearing the sweatshirt yet. I saved that up for the fall and the winter. So thank you to the guys at PO. Check out the episode with Magna Hadeland of PO, talking about their new offshoot from AutoStore, utilizing the AutoStore technology, but utilizing it in a way and developing a business model that's a kind of a pay-per-pick and a RAS setup for those small to medium-sized businesses, which is a great fit for companies that have a small space, but are looking to increase throughput and capacity and kind of manage their labor a little better. So really interesting stuff that they're doing. So thank you to the guys at PO for the shirt. Looking forward to being in touch and seeing more PO systems roll out as well. So this week, I got to check out AMZ United as well, which is first time kind of diving into that Amazon world a little deeper. So very interesting stuff. And then coming up, we'll be at ASCM Connect. That's the next conference that I'll be at. So if you're going to be at ASCM Connect, please let me know. Be happy to connect with you at Connect. Sounds easy enough to say, right? But I'll be there. I'm not doing any podcasts, maybe one or two, but I'll be there representing my local ASCM chapter as their president. It's ASCM PRSJ, kind of finding out what is the latest with ASCM, what's going on with the education. They have a new certification coming out, which is the CTSC, which is pretty exciting. It's all about digital transformation within your organization and your supply chain. So definitely interested to find out more about that. See some ASCM people in my network as well. But also really looking forward to, they're going to do a facility tour of UPS Worldport. So hopefully I can grab some video there, maybe some pictures and share that with you guys. Really, really excited to check that out and see what that's all about. So if you're going to be there, please let me know. And also, we are going to have our happy hour, our first new warehouse happy hour, hosted in partnership with Variable in Philadelphia on September 21st from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Graffiti Bar. And definitely looking forward to getting some shippers, 3PLs out there. Definitely going to have a lot of fun and really interested to see how this goes. And I think it'll be the start of a series of happy hours potentially happening within the next year. So really looking forward to that, and then creating hopefully another type of vehicle where people from the warehousing industry can network and kind of connect locally and regionally in that sense. So really looking forward to that. Be sure to register if you're interested, or reach out to me if you're interested, and we'll get you on the list to attend. That's September 21st, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And so for this week's safety tip, I'm going to give it to you because this is something that just came up in our operation a little bit. So it seems a little small, but it's very important, I think. And when you have the box cutters, knives, right, you always want to make sure, if you don't have box cutters that have an automatically retractable blade, you want to make sure you retract that blade every time you're done using it. You don't want to leave it sitting with the blade sticking out in case somebody accidentally bumps into it or goes to pick it up, doesn't realize that the blade is out. All those types of things can lead to potential pokes of the tip of the blade, or potential cuts or slices in your hand or other areas too as well. So you want to make sure that you are retracting that blade. If not, better option is there are safety knives out there where either they're built so that the blade is inaccessible, or they have an automatically retractable blade. So if you push it out and then you let go, the blade automatically comes back in. So definitely want to make sure that you're paying attention to that and ensuring that you're not setting yourself up to get cut in any way, because we don't want that. And cuts, it may seem like a small thing, paper cut or a small slice or something like that, but they could potentially lead to infection. So we definitely want to be mindful of that and have your employees mindful of that as well. So that's a safety tip for today. And for our main segment today, definitely very excited for this. We got the chance to go up to Massachusetts and visit the Newcastle Systems headquarters. And if you guys follow me on LinkedIn, I'm a big fan of Newcastle Systems and their carts. Actually, they've been a huge part of our move before we figure out our final layout and get power drops in and things like that. Their mobile powered carts have really been a savior because they're able to give us power not only for our computers picking and packing, but other things too, within any location in the facility, because the power is right on the cart itself. And we're going to talk about that in the main segment here. And you'll get to see their facility, and also we're going to tap into a little bit of their lean and continuous improvement ethos and culture that they have within that facility, which is very cool to see, and definitely really interesting stuff. So hope you guys have a good weekend, Labor Day weekend. So enjoy it. If you're not shipping on the holiday, we'll be shipping on Monday a little bit. So I'll be in the warehouse, but I definitely love to do it. So it's exciting stuff, with everything on the horizon. So hopefully we'll be sharing more good news with you in the future. But definitely hope you enjoyed this main segment with Newcastle Systems. So here we are. Hey guys, I'm here at Newcastle Systems headquarters in Amesbury, Massachusetts, and I'm joined by the president of Newcastle Systems, John O'Kelly, and we're going to talk all about Newcastle Systems and what they do. Also, we're going to get a little look at their facility here too, to look at some of the lean and continuous improvement things that they're doing internally, but then also for the industry as well. And I'm going to talk to John a little bit about Newcastle Systems, and also, why optimizing your operation and efficiencies with things like the Newcastle carts before moving to automation is an important thing to consider. So, John, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Pretty good. I appreciate you taking the time to come visit us.
Definitely happy to be here. I love my Newcastle carts personally, so I'm happy to kind of see where the magic happens, I guess, in that sense. So maybe for people that are not familiar with Newcastle Systems, why don't you give us a little brief overview, tell us what it is that you guys do here?
So Newcastle Systems, we're basically focused on providing mobile-powered carts to people that are in all kinds of industries, but mostly in manufacturing, warehousing, some in retailing, to enable people to be more mobile in their facility.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's a great thing, and you can see one of the carts behind us here, right? And they're all around here, so if you're really into Newcastle Systems, if you're a fan of Newcastle Systems, this is like the Mecca, I guess I would say. There's so many carts here. But tell us a little bit about, what you're doing here, because you guys recently moved to this new facility. So tell us about kind of the growth of Newcastle Systems and what it means to be in this new building.
Sure. So in 2005, I was taking some classes at the Harvard Extension School, and I took some classes on entrepreneurship. And I basically, when I was taking the class, I came up with an idea for a new company, and I wanted to pursue that. And one of the things that I focused on was I knew that there's a demand for real-time information in warehouses and distribution centers, and so I thought that this would be a really good place for us to start. I knew that there were lots of people that were walking many miles a day in their facility doing their job, and I knew there could be a better way, and I basically took that and the idea and set up the company in my basement of my house in Wakefield at the time, which is kind of scary a little bit, but that was how it was. A few steps forward, 2015, we were in Haverhill. We were in a facility in Haverhill, which was a 17,000 square foot facility. And we moved into that facility thinking that we would be there for 10 years. After basically 5 years, we had grown by 400%, and it was not big enough for us anymore. So we very quickly had to try to find a new home, basically, and that was right in the middle of COVID, which didn't make matters very easy for that. So eventually we found a facility in Amesbury, which is 40,000 square feet, so it's like double the size of the previous facility. We really needed to have a better match for the space requirements in terms of inventory, storage, and team members. Moving to Amesbury allowed for a lot more space in the warehouse to boost productivity, improve lean processes, which we'll talk about later on, and reduce lead times. And the enlarged space provided more offices, demo and meeting spaces, as well as parking. And so it really was a very big change for us. You even hear it in some of the people that work here, what they say about it being a much better place to come to work, more inviting and stuff like that. In the past, in Haverhill, it was very crowded. It was like you were on top of one another.
Oh, really?
And it was, so it was a little difficult. But so that, I guess, if that brings you kind of up to date to where we are today,
Yeah, definitely. And we're here in the new facility, and it's definitely a beautiful space and lots of space to grow to, I think, in here, and you can see just kind of the ethos and the culture of Newcastle, I think, just as we walk in the door and see everything in place, and some of that lean culture as well, which we'll talk about later. But I'm curious, how does, the market reception to Newcastle Systems, I mean, from something that you started in your basement to now where it's grown, I mean, how does that feel for you? I mean,
it's with a great deal of pride, not necessarily for myself, but for the whole team. We have a lot of very committed people here that are very passionate about what they do, and you can't ask for anything better than that. So for me, it's really great to see the acceptance of a concept, because that's what it was initially. There weren't really that many people, if any, doing this. And so it was really exciting, and has been, and it's been challenging too, I definitely admit, but it's been a great experience, and to see that acceptance of the product and take it on, that's really encouraging. And obviously when you have really good people that work in your team, that makes it even more enjoyable, because we're all doing it because we're motivated. We're doing it because we believe in what it is that we're trying to do. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it's a great thing that you guys are doing, because you're able to make workers' lives better, essentially, right? You're able to, take them and like you said, some people are walking miles a day, when they're working in these large facilities, and whether it's from the manufacturing aspect, retail, or distribution side. There's large facilities, lots of walking, and you guys are really focused on reducing those steps, which I think is a great thing. So I'm curious in that regard. There's so much talk about automation, robotics in our space, and we were at ProMat, you guys were there too, and you saw all the automation, robotics all around the place. But when we look at that, I mean, how important is it for an organization to focus on kind of optimizing their processes through implementing things like a Newcastle cart to reduce steps prior to making that move into automation and robotics?
I think, as you probably know, there's a lot of talk about automation, and there's, of course, and with of course some justification, and specifically robots. There's been a tremendous amount of trade shows, and it's great, and they're awesome for many different products, many different applications. But they're not ideal for every application, especially smaller companies that don't have maybe the production capacity that some of the bigger companies have. So it's really in many cases, as we say, innovation comes in many forms, and Newcastle offers a sort of a hybrid of automation that provides fast reduction of motion waste and worker fatigue, while significantly improving your workers' processing speed. And so, there is a lot of companies never go to robots, of course. They have a process that they have to make their product, and they have fine-tuned that process over a period of years. And so when robots come along, they can help certain industries, they can help certain products, certain customers, but not necessarily, we don't have necessarily a progression that our companies, that are customers of ours are automatically going to go. Some of them will, a lot of them in retail, where they're dealing with lots of quantities, high number of SKUs, but it's not for everybody. That's not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just, it's like you want to, of course, improve the processes and the efficiencies in your organization. How you do that is the question, and what's the tool that's going to be the most produce the most results, I think, is really more what the focus should be on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to note too, like that, your solution with the carts and the mobile power is, it reduces those steps, right? And oftentimes, so often, just the slight improvement of reducing steps or reducing paper within processes can improve that process dramatically. So I think it's really important to take note of that and notice that and see what you guys are doing, because it is enabling a lot of people to do that and improve a lot of processes in that way. So it's really smart, I think, what you guys have developed. So in that sense, talking about technology and the future and things like that, why don't you tell us kind of some of the new product updates that you have, or maybe some products that are in the pipeline that we can look forward to?
So we have always been fairly focused on new product development, new solutions. We really listen to our customers on an ongoing basis to get feedback on how we're doing, where they have problems, where they have issues that we can help with or whatever. And sometimes that means a new product. So a lot of the products that we have actually come from customers' ideas. One customer could say to us, hey, I need this unit to be 2 feet wider or 1 foot taller or height adjustable, whatever. So that's where a lot of our ideas have come from, is from our customers, which is great, because you really engage with the customer and they really tell you what they want and what they don't want. Some of the new products that we have developed, one is a height adjustable workstation. So it's kind of like one of our stations here, but it's, you press a button and it basically activates
Very cool.
a lift mechanism up and down. And that's really has become quite interesting for a lot of people, because in these work environments you have, and you mentioned 3PL, there's lots of different people that use the same, they share a different bench or share, and so it's important that we take ergonomics into account and make sure that people are able to sit at a comfortable or stand at a comfortable work position. So we've developed what's called an Apex 1000 height adjustable station, and that's really gotten some interest. We were at a trade show there earlier this year, the ProMat show in Chicago, and that was really, there was quite a bit of interest in that, because people like the ability to be able to adjust it up and down to correspond to the height of the operator, but also the application, what the application is. That's one item. We've done a few other items, one of which includes a remote battery meter, which is really neat, that we developed in the last year, that really can identify and provide a lot more information that's needed by the operator, such as state of charge, the life of the battery, the number of cycles. So it gives a lot more information for people that are the users to know how their cart is doing. That was a really interesting one for us to develop, because in the past we didn't have as many monitoring devices on the carts, but now customers want that. They want to be able to know more about, because if they have 50 or 100 carts in a particular warehouse.
Yeah, I think that's a great one, because I was just thinking the same thing. I mean, it's almost in comparison to having a fleet of forklifts, right? You want to know, like, what's the status of all those things. And like you said, if you have, 50, 100 carts, you're not going to go around and check every single one. It's easy to have that monitor, which I think makes a lot of sense. And then I love the height adjustable too, because I've worked in situations where, we've had people that are like, 4'9" and somebody that's like 6'5", right? And then you try to come up with a table or a pack station that both can switch through from shift to shift and all those things, and it's difficult to do. So being able to quickly adjust and easily adjust, I think, is such an important thing. So really interesting stuff that you guys have come up with, and I love that you continue with the continuous improvement and that you listen to the customer as well.
And we try to practice what we preach too. We're talking and encouraging our customers to look at how to improve efficiency within their facility, how to cut down on walk time that people have from one location to another. And so we try to do that ourselves internally, and that's always good, because it keeps you on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's such a great thing that you're looking at that internally too. So, we're going to take a look at that here while we're on site with Newcastle Systems at their new place here in Amesbury, Massachusetts. So for now, John, thank you so much for talking to me and giving us some background on Newcastle, the history a little bit, and also what's been going on as well.
Okay. I appreciate you stopping by, and thank you for the opportunity to present here. This is great, and it's good that you are a customer as well, so you know what the product's all about. You can speak to it. So thanks very much for your time.
All right. Thank you, John. All right, guys, I'm now here in the main warehouse space and manufacturing space of Newcastle Systems and their new facility here in Amesbury, Massachusetts. And we just had a chance to talk to John, who's the president over here. And now we're going to talk to Tom Buswell, and he's the director of operations here. And he's going to tell us a little bit about kind of the operation they have going here. And, Newcastle Systems is all about the lean, continuous improvement. So we're going to talk about how they've implemented that internally here as well. So Tom, first off, thanks for having me in your operation.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the operation here, and also kind of, I know this is a new facility for you too, so tell us a little bit about how you've been able to gain some efficiencies and improvements by moving to a new space.
Sure. So the old space where we moved from in Haverhill, Massachusetts, we were kind of on top of each other, that we couldn't move materials very efficiently. We had this problem of having to actually move materials in order to get to other raw materials.
Right.
Coming here, the biggest advantage has been the ability to spread out a little bit and segregate materials. We bring materials in and can segregate for receiving. We can segregate things like non-conforming materials, red tag area, where before we were there was a little bit of mixing of materials.
Oh, yeah.
So that's dangerous, obviously, as you know, in manufacturing. So we were able to do that. And now one of probably the biggest advantages of this area that we're standing in here, the assembly area, is to be able to put our raw materials at point of use for our assemblers. So previously, the assemblers would have to go to the warehouse, gather their materials for their build for the day, bring them back into their work area, and then do their build. So now one of the biggest advantages, again, is to have that right at point of use.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's that area right here around us.
Right, yeah, and I think it's so interesting because it's such a great thought about the flow too, like how you've created kind of this this U around.
Yep.
But also, if you guys look and you see the racking, there's no kind of commingling, I guess, of people doing replenishment and the assemblers as well. So tell us kind of the thought behind that and how that works.
So from a couple of perspectives, so from the safety perspective, in terms of replenishment and bringing lifts in, bringing pallets in, movement of materials, the way that we set up this new facility was to create replenishment routes around the backside of the racking, and the interior is just kept for people movement and our assembly. Those areas that are behind are really only used for replenishment. So the folks from the warehouse are bringing materials in here and not having to move into this area where assembly is going on.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing, because then you have people assembling and they don't have to get out of the way. They don't have to stop what they're doing. They can continuously do what they're doing. And I think that makes a lot of sense. So tell us a little bit too, kind of, I guess, how you and the team here and the culture around continuous improvement. I mean, how do you guys continue to drive that and continue to look at things on how you improve the operation overall?
So as you know, lean is one of those things where a lot of people will set up lean systems and they fall off over time, right?
Yeah.
So our goal, and John, the president of the company, his goal is always to just continuously reinforce lean practices here. So one of the things we do every week is we actually have a lean meeting. The team gathers with the production supervisor.
Yeah.
We have a lean board, a suggestion board, so the guys get together and put out suggestions, and then they will follow up on, say, the previous week's suggestions to finish those projects. They'll do their cleaning, their sorting, standardizing, making sure benches are all set the way they're supposed to, do any kind of improvements that they want to do. The other thing we do on a weekly basis is we do audits, bench audits. So we actually have, I brought a form with me I can show you.
Sure.
We actually do a checklist. So we'll go around to each one of the cells, the work cells, the different products, and we'll do an audit on that cell, score them 1 through 5, so make sure they're meeting expectations. And in the areas where they're not, then we'll make improvements there. So those are a couple of things that we do.
Yeah, very cool. And, and I'm curious too, you have the lean suggestion board, as you mentioned, which I think is a very cool thing, because, a lot of the lean and continuous improvement, it comes from the floor, right? And it comes from suggestions of people that are doing the work and, what they see. So I'm curious in that regard. I mean, what's your favorite suggestion so far that you've gotten from the lean board?
I would say, it's not one favorite. The way that I feel like about lean is it works a little bit at a time, right?
Yeah.
You reinforce the culture with small suggestions, and you kind of work to a system that is efficient for everybody. It's the most lean that it can be. It can be as small as relabeling some of our bins. We've started to do that here in some of our work cells. The old labels would peel off, or whatever it may be, and we just made sure that we relabel them with something a little more robust. Even the height of some of the bins for hardware on the benches, making sure the guys have them at an easy work height from their seating position. Adjustable height on seats, things like that as well.
All right, cool. And what kind of label did you switch to? I'm curious.
Well, I could probably show you the difference between the two, or maybe you could take a quick shot of it. But these labels here are the new ones. So again, a little more robust versus a paper label. These are
oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, this is more of a plasticized label, so they don't peel off
as easy.
Yeah, and if you look at the ones we have over behind us here, it's a straight, like a just paper label.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, cool. I'm very curious about that. I like the little small stuff too. So very good to hear that. And I'm curious too. I mean, as you're talking about this, you're talking about having the lean meeting and then the audits and stuff. And I think a lot of times when you try to implement lean and continuous improvement, or bring the idea up to some people, a lot of times it's met with kind of like, where are we going to find the time to have these extra meetings or do these audits? So I'm curious, like, how do you address that, and how do you make sure that you're allocating the time, and how does that kind of evolve over time to just become part of the natural cadence?
You said it. So we do allocate the time. We actually schedule it every week. So every Friday they peel off after their second break in the afternoon.
Okay.
The production supervisor gets the team together, and they actually do their lean meeting. They expect it. It's part of the culture. It's part of what we do.
Yeah.
The lean audits are the same way. So every week the production supervisor does the audits at a set time.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious about that, because I know a lot of different operations, like, they try to do it at first. It's like, well, how are we going to find the time? And then,
it has to be scheduled.
They push the meeting, but you have to have the meeting, and, over time it'll just continue to improve, right? So now tell us a little bit about you take that internally here, and obviously, the product that you guys put out is all about that too, right? It's all about continuous improvement, reducing waste, and all those things. So tell us how you're able to kind of take that culture internally here, and then transfer that kind of out as the product goes out.
So let's talk about internally first, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Our shipping receiving team, our inventory control person, they all use our carts. So you've seen out in the warehouse, they use the carts on an everyday basis. That's their office. And it's funny, I may come down and go out back to talk to somebody, and they will be in a different spot, right? They're wherever they need to be to get their work done, right? So they're not taking extra steps to do their work. They're going to where the work needs to be done. So they have their carts that they're using internally. And then from an external perspective, I know that the customer-facing people in the company, the salespeople, the marketing people, they're always reinforcing the fact that we use our product internally. We're users as well. We're customers as well. Yeah. So they tell that story and talk about how we save ourselves time and steps internally, and how that customer potentially can as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. I think it's great that you use the product here too. And I've seen some of the posts on LinkedIn and things from you guys where you guys are using them in the warehouse here and the facility. And I think it's such a great thing. I mean, I'm curious, as you continue to do that, I mean, how important do you think it is? Because you mentioned that, the cart is essentially their office, right? Or their desk, right? So how important do you think it is in kind of having those higher efficiencies and productivity gains to really allow that, workstation to go to the location where the work is actually being done, instead of having to run back to an office or, run back to a desk that's stationary or something like that? How important is that?
Yeah, absolutely critical. I mean, we're relatively small here in terms of our warehouse size, but if you do a study of the number of steps that you would be taking otherwise, it would be significant. Yeah. Our building is a couple 100 feet long. It's not really that big, but multiply that by 10 trips a day.
Yeah,
you think about the amount of time that you would waste. So critical for us, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm curious, as you start to build out the carts, and what do you see are like some of the best applications for the carts? You mentioned you guys use them for some of the picking and things like that. I mean, how do you set up the cart, and what types of things do you guys utilize on your carts? Maybe give some inspiration to other people that have carts out there.
So again, for us, shipping, receiving, inventory control, and the guys really customize their carts to themselves. You'll see some they like left, right monitors, up and down monitors. It kind of depends. They have obviously their printers with them. All of them have those. So scanners for inventory control, barcoding, those kind of things.
All right, cool. Really interesting stuff, and definitely appreciate you bringing us into the operation here, Tom, and kind of giving us some background on the lean culture here, and really, really excited to be on site and see this. I mean, I love using my cart personally. I love my cart, so it's great to see kind of where they're made and how you guys are using them too. I mean, I think it's really interesting. Like you said, I customized my cart too, and set it up the way I wanted. So it's great to see some examples of that as well. So really appreciate you talking to me and kind of showing us out here on the floor.
Yep, great.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Yep.